The fire in the tavern had burned low by the time the old storyteller began speaking. Rain tapped softly against the warped wooden shutters, and the few travelers still awake leaned closer to the warmth. Somewhere in the back of the room, a bard quietly tuned a broken lute, though no one played. The storyteller lifted his cup. "Have any of you heard," he asked softly, "of the coward barbarian?" A few men laughed. One spat into the fire, but an old elf sitting alone near the window lowered her eyes, and the storyteller began. "They say the northern clans feared neither winter nor death, that their warriors painted their faces with ash before battle and laughed while villages burned. The most feared among them was the Frost Wolf clan. Raiders, slavers, kings of the ice valleys. And the son of their chieftain was expected to become the cruelest warrior of them all. His name was Eirik. By 16 winters, he was larger than most grown men. By 18, he could split shields with a single axe strike. By 20, he had already survived 3 raids across the southern coast. The clan adored him, but they did not know the truth. Eirik hated every scream he heard. He hated the smoke, the burning homes, the terrified faces of farmers who had never held a sword in their lives. Most of all, he hated the way his father smiled during raids. "The weak exist to feed the strong," his father would say. "That is the law of this world." Eirik tried to believe it. Gods know he tried. But each winter the sickness in his chest only grew worse. Then came the raid that destroyed his life. It was a small village near the edge of the Pine Kingdoms. Poor, defenseless, barely worth attacking. Snow fell heavily the night the frost wolves arrived. Eirik remembered the sound first. Not battle, crying. A little girl stood in the center of the village clutching a wooden doll while her home burned behind her. One of the raiders grabbed her by the hair. "She'll sell for silver," the man laughed, and something inside Eirik finally broke. He struck the raider so hard the man collapsed into the snow unconscious. The village went silent. Even the flames seemed to stop moving. His father stepped forward slowly through the smoke. "What?" the chieftain asked quietly. "Are you doing?" Eirik looked at the child trembling beside him, then at the burning homes around him, and for the first time in his life, he spoke honestly. "This isn't strength," he said. The clan stared at him in disbelief. His father's expression hardened like ice. "You shame your blood. She's a child. She is prey." The little girl clung to Eirik's cloak as the warriors slowly surrounded them. The chieftain drew his axe. "Kill her," he ordered, "or I will know the south has poisoned your spirit." Eirik's hands trembled. The snowstorm howled around them. Then he did the one thing no son of the frost wolves had ever done. He turned his axe against his own clan. The fight was chaos. Steel rang through the blizzard as Eirik carved a path through the warriors surrounding the child. He did not kill more than necessary, but he fought like a cornered beast. Even wounded, none could stop him. Not until his father entered the battle. The old chieftain struck like thunder. Their axes collided hard enough to crack wood apart. "You would betray your people for southern animals?" his father roared. Eirik struggled beneath the weight of him. "They're human." The chieftain's eyes burned with fury. "No," he snarled. "We are wolves, and wolves survive." The old warrior slammed Eirik into the snow and raised his axe for the killing blow. Then an arrow pierced his shoulder. The battlefield froze. Another arrow followed, then another. From the dark pine forest beyond the village, figures emerged silently beneath the snow-covered trees. Elves. The frost wolves cursed and retreated immediately. Even barbarians feared forest elves during winter. The chieftain ripped the arrow from his shoulder and glared down at his son one final time. "You are no child of mine." Then the clan vanished into the storm. Eric collapsed beside the burning village. The last thing he remembered before darkness took him was seeing silver eyes staring down at him through falling snow. When he awoke, he expected chains. Instead, he found warmth. A fire crackled softly nearby. The room smelled of pine and herbs. His wounds had been bandaged carefully. Eric tried to sit up, but pain shot through his ribs. "You move like an angry bear," a calm voice said nearby. He looked up. An elf woman sat beside the fire carving symbols into a piece of wood with a small knife. Her hair was dark as wet bark, and a long scar crossed one side of her throat. "You saved me," Eric said cautiously. The elf shrugged. "My scouts wanted to leave you for the crows." "Why didn't they?" She glanced at him. "Because you protected the child." Eric looked away. "That doesn't make me good." "No," she said quietly, "but it makes you different." Her name was Lyra, and though neither trusted the other, winter forced them together. The mountain passes were buried beneath snow. The frost wolves hunted Eric relentlessly, and human kingdoms would likely execute him on sight for being a barbarian. So he remained hidden in the forest settlement. The elves watched him carefully. Some openly despised him. Eric understood why. Many of the older elves still remembered villages burned by northern raiders. Sometimes he caught mothers pulling children away when he walked past. And each time shame twisted deeper inside him. Weeks passed, then months. Slowly the forest stopped feeling hostile. Lyra taught him how to move quietly through snow without sinking, how to recognize poisonous berries, how to listen to forests instead of conquering them. In return, Eric repaired damaged homes and carried timber through blizzards no elf could survive alone. One night, while they sat beside a campfire deep in the woods, Lyra finally asked the question she had carried for months. "Why did you really leave your clan?" Eric stared into the flames. For a long time he said nothing, then quietly, "Because I was becoming my father." The fire crackled softly between them. "I thought if I fought long enough," he admitted, "the feeling would disappear. The guilt, the disgust." His voice lowered. "But every village we burned stayed inside my head." Lyra watched him silently. "The people you killed stay with you?" she asked. "All of them." The elf looked down at the fire. "Good," she whispered. Eric frowned slightly. She met his gaze. "The ones who feel nothing are the dangerous ones." For the first time in years, Eric laughed softly, and something between them changed that night. Not suddenly, not magically, but carefully, like ice beginning to thaw. Spring arrived slowly in the north. Snow melted from the cliffs. Rivers awakened. The forests breathed again. And for a short time, Eric almost believed he had escaped his old life. Then the hunting horns came. The frost wolves had found the settlement. Chaos erupted through the forest. Elven scouts rushed between the trees as flaming arrows tore through the night sky. Eric recognized the war drums instantly. His father had come personally. Lyra grabbed a bow. "We need to evacuate the children." But Eric already knew the truth. The clan would never stop hunting him. not while he lived. "I have to end this," he said. Lyra's expression hardened. "You cannot fight them alone." "If I don't," he said quietly, "they'll destroy everything here too." The battle began before dawn. The frost wolves crashed into the forest like a storm of iron and fire. Eirik fought beside the elves at the edge of the burning trees, his axe moving with terrifying precision. But he was not trying to win. He was searching for one man, his father. At last they met beneath the great pines. The old chieftain looked older now, wearier, but his hatred remained unchanged. "You chose them over your blood," he growled. Eirik tightened his grip on the axe. "No," he said. "I chose who I wanted to become." Their final battle shook the forest. Steel rang through smoke and rain. The chieftain fought like the north itself, cold, relentless, merciless. But Eirik no longer fought with rage, only certainty. At last, the old warrior fell to his knees. For a moment neither moved. Rain dripped softly through the burning trees. The chieftain looked up at his son. "You would spare me?" he spat. Eirik's chest rose heavily. Slowly he lowered the axe. "I'm ending this." For the first time in his life, his father looked afraid, not of death, of mercy. The surviving frost wolves retreated before sunrise, and Eirik never saw his clan again. The storyteller fell silent for a moment. The tavern fire cracked softly. Outside, thunder rolled across the hills. "What happened to the barbarian?" someone finally asked. The old storyteller smiled faintly. "Some say he lived among the forest elves until old age. Others say he wandered the kingdoms helping villages rebuild after wars." The old elf near the window quietly stared into her untouched drink. "But the northern clans," the storyteller continued softly, "still tell stories about him. The coward who betrayed his blood. The warrior who chose mercy. The barbarian who walked away from becoming a monster." The storyteller lifted his cup one final time. "And if you travel far enough north," he whispered, "you may still find flowers placed beside an unmarked grave beneath the pines." The old elf near the window stood silently, and before leaving the tavern she placed a single carved wooden wolf beside the dying fire.